Greetings. My name is Sarah Tovar. Welcome to the HPE Aruba Networking AOS-CX 10.16 1005 Transfer of Information on Port Access Command Support under Interface Persona. Interface personas themselves are not a new feature. A persona is a template interface where commands are configured under the persona context, and the persona is attached to interfaces as needed. This is an update to that feature. Starting in 10.16 1005, AAA authentication and port access commands are now configurable and will work with personas. This is great for anybody who would like to use personas to configure interfaces that require AAA authentication or port access configurations. This is a complement to the colorless ports feature. It enhances usability because it makes reusing interface configurations easier and less prone to error. And it will help in audit because quick config verifications can be done if you use personas, since all interfaces that have the same persona attached will have the same configuration. And you can look at the persona configuration instead of needing to go through every single interface and review all the configurations attached to that interface. So when you create an interface persona, there are a few examples shown here. Creating the persona itself does not change. That is still done by going into the config mode, typing interface persona, and then selecting a name. But what is different is you will now see AAA authentication port access commands available and port access commands. As shown here, there are a few examples of the most common configurations in examples 1 and 2. And attaching a persona to an interface does not change. That is still done the same way. You go into the interface config, then simply attach the persona that you wish to attach. This feature is supported on most platforms, as can be seen on this slide. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and read every single one of these configurations to you, so you can pause this and review the screens, or you can go to the switch, enter the interface persona, go into the AAA authentication port access, or simply port access, and you will be able to see all the configurations that are now available. As can be seen here, it is quite a few. To validate an interface persona, none of that changes. If you do a show interface persona, you will see all the personas that are on a switch and all the attached interfaces for each persona. If you want to see the configuration of a persona, if you simply type in show run interface persona, you will see the interface personas and their configurations. You can also see the configuration if you look at a specific interface where that persona is attached. You will see the persona that is attached as well as the configuration, as can be seen here on this slide. Now to validate the port access commands, on 10.16 1005, you will just use the standard commands that you use to validate any port access clients. So for example, here you can do show port access clients and you will see an interface with port access clients. This does not change. Now, prior to 10.13 10.10, you could configure AAA authentication or port access commands under a persona, and you could attach that persona to an interface, but the configuration would not actually work. So if you did this prior to 10.13 10.10 and had the same configuration, if you did show port access clients, you would find that there were no port access clients found, even though you had attached a persona that had the correct configuration. From 10.13 10.10 to 10.16 1005, you were unable to configure these options under an interface persona because they would not work. Thank you so much for joining us today. And don't forget to join the HPE Aruba Networking Airheads community today if you aren't already a member.